Hey besties, welcome back to Allie the Doula, your birth bestie for Real Talk. Today we're continuing our Build Your Birth Team series, and we are talking about a provider that everybody who is considering having a baby or has a baby or just thinks about babies should know about and should have, especially if you are sitting on the couch at 2 a.m. exhausted, emotional, and wondering if your baby is actually getting enough milk. We are going to be talking about all things boobs today. And we are joined by Courtney. She's the founder of the Better Boob and an IBCLC here in the Triangle area. Courtney, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Before we jump in, I wanted to give you a quick heads up that both Courtney and I had our babies with us during this recording. So if you hear some baby noises in the background, don't be alarmed. Honestly, I considered trying to edit all of it out, but then I thought, we're talking about feeding babies, supporting families, and navigating parenthood. So it feels pretty fitting that there are actual babies involved. So if you hear some cute little baby sounds or someone needing their mom for a minute, just consider them our honorary co-hosts for today's episode. So let's just start off simple and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, where to begin? There's a lot of things that I could talk about. But my name is Courtney. I'm a registered nurse and internationally board certified lactation consultant. I've been a nurse since 2015. Wow. And I've been an IBCLC since 2020. It was right at COVID. And that is where I wanted to become a lactation consultant because I struggled so much with breastfeeding my first. My first was born in 2019, and I was a labor and delivery nurse and mother baby nurse at the time. And I was like, oh, I'll be fine. Like, I teach moms how to breastfeed. Like, I'll be able to breastfeed my baby. And come to find out, I struggled a lot. And I thought, if I'm struggling and I'm asking all these questions, what about the moms that don't have any medical background, and what are they feeling like? And if I'm feeling all these insecurities, they got to be on the same page of that. And I had a lot of background, obviously, in the birthing world, but still, feeding is hard. It doesn't seem like it's going to be hard, but we struggled a lot. And so I always had this fascination, oddly enough, with breastfeeding. I just found it very cool. I started to get my IBCLC in 2019, shortly after having my first baby, and since I struggled so much with him. And then that turned into 2020. I was supposed to take my exam, and COVID hit, and I was working in the hospital, mask and all, every single room. And moms during the COVID times, it was actually quite nice in the hospital because we didn't have a bunch of like family members. And so I think like breastfeeding rates, at least to go in and educate parents in the hospital, is actually quite nice because you didn't have like, oh, we'll come back later because grandma's holding baby or whatever. It was actually really nice. But that left, once they went home, we weren't offering any outpatient services because of COVID. Mm-hmm. And so I thought one day it was about this time in 2020, so about 6 years ago now. And I said, I'm going to create a lactation Instagram, and then at least I can share this stuff on my Instagram, and then I can give that out to the patients. So at least they have something, because I was giving the same information over and over. They'd be calling, like, I just need to give them I'm just going to start this. And I had told my hospital that I wanted to do some sort of online video, something for moms, because we couldn't do anything in person, and they kind of just didn't think anything of it. They didn't, and it didn't encourage me, but they didn't tell me not to do it. So I was like, I'm just going to do it on my own then. So that entered the Better Boob. And so this all started with my Instagram of just wanting to get free information out there for moms in the middle of COVID. And now 6 years later, I have a team of 7 of lactation consultants. I'm adding another one right now, but we've currently got several of us here in the Triangle area. I've got one in New Bern, North Carolina, and I also have 2 in Louisville, Kentucky, and then I'm bringing on another one in Indiana. So kind of spreading all over is my goal. Awesome. To just help as many moms as possible. Mm-hmm. And my husband literally asked me, what are you going to do? You know, when I said, I want to become a lactation consultant, he said, well, what is that going to do for you? And he
Mm,
wasn't meaning it in a negative way. He was just he's a very plan, like, what is this going to bring? You know, is this
yeah.
going to bring any extra income, or what is this going to do in the long term? And I'm like, I don't know. And then here we are with my own private practice and several lactation consultants working for my team and helping more and more moms than I could ever imagine doing it by myself. So,
That's
yeah.
amazing. I do have to know, how did you come up with the name?
Good,
Because I love it
good
when I am
question.
telling people, like, people are like, oh, I need lactation around here. And I'm like, Better Boob. And they're like, okay, yes, I need my boobs better. Like, yeah. I'm like, no, the better.
Yeah, it's,
Go see the better.
yes. Yes, it's so funny because there was a client that I worked with, and so the process behind the name, or I guess how I came up with the name, is I always would tell people, when they said, why does one breast make more than the other? I make more on one side than the other. And with that, I said, well, you've got a good boob and a better boob. Some people will say you've got a good boob and a slacker boob, or you got a better boob and a slacker boob. And I'm like, well, the slacker isn't bad. Like, that's such a
Right.
negative
Yeah.
term. I'm just a very positive person, glass half full type of person. So I was like, well, you've got a good boob and you've got a better boob. They're both good. One is just better. And I had a client that had told me, she said, whew, like, we'd been working together for many visits.
Yeah.
Her baby, I think, was like over 6 months. Like, we were doing solid introduction. On that note, I do solid introduction consults too. And so we were doing that. And she was like, oh, I thought it just meant like you make my boobs better. And I'm like, well, that happens too.
I mean, yes,
So
but
that works. And on that note, I haven't even told anybody yet, but I actually got the good boob, or everyone has a good boob and better boob saying trademarked. I just haven't said anything about it, which I need to. I've just been
that's
so
freaking-
busy in the state of North Carolina. So I got that I got the better boob trademarked, and then I got the saying everyone has a good boob and a better boob trademarked. So I just
Wow.
have to announce it.
That's exciting.
So yeah, I mean, I've really built my entire business around it. A lot of moms like it because they can
Yeah.
relate to it. And the only time I get weird things is when I'm trying to talk to like insurance and it's a man on the other side.
Mhm.
And he's like, the better what? And I'm like, boob, B-O-O-B.
Yeah.
Yes, boob. I'm a lactation
Boob, right.
consultant. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like,
Oh my
story
God.
for another day, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I get I'm a birth doula. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, I deal with babies coming out of vaginas a lot. And they're like, oh.
Oh. It's fun times that I have to give out my email, or they're like, what's your business name? So it's the only time that it's that I'm like
It's kind of
a
fun.
little teenage boy talking about it.
Right.
But for the most part, it's a lot of people have said, oh, I saw you on Google and I chose you because you had a fun name. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yay.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
So it worked.
Oh man. Wow, that's so exciting. Congratulations on that trademark.
Thanks.
Are we gonna get like
Yeah.
shirts and like hats and
Oh,
stuff?
no. Whenever I have time, I'm
Okay,
sure.
great.
It was just more
Great.
so we were doing it. My husband and I own a couple other businesses. So we were doing it for one of our other businesses
Mhm.
just to protect ourselves. And so it's crazy how long it took. It took almost a year to get
Really?
it.
Oh
Like,
my,
we submitted it last summer, like end of last summer. So
that's crazy.
it's a wild process to do a trademark.
That's
Yeah.
like the small business stuff that people like don't even talk about. And then when you start
Yeah.
doing it, it's like, oh, this is a lot.
Yeah. It took a while. So yeah, it's all said and done, at least for the next 10 years. So yay.
That's so exciting. I mean, like, you already have a flourishing business and you've helped so many people, but I feel like that just brings it to like a whole other level.
It did. It was a very high moment when I got the email. I'm like, yes, it's done. And then I'm like, what do I do with this now? I don't know. But at least no one else in the state of North Carolina can
Mhm.
claim it.
Yep. Oh man, that's amazing. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about just what an IBCLC is? Because I know a lot of people hear like lactation consultant, breastfeeding counselor, IBCLC, boob specialist. Like, people hear
Yep.
all different terms. So
Yep.
what's an IBCLC?
So an IBCLC is internationally board certified lactation consultant. So my unique The unique part of this is it is an international, it is a certification, which I wish it was. I wish so many things about the term IBCLC, but one of the things is it is technically just a certification, but it's a lot of work to get your IBCLC. It is the highest certification in lactation. So there is CLC, which is Certified Lactation Counselor. There is CBS, which is Certified Breastfeeding Specialist. There's peer counselors. There's so many different ones. But at the top of that, the highest level, there is no other higher level than IBCLC. That is like the gold standard for, we're talking about lactation care. And there are something called like breastfeeding medicine specialists. Well, those are going to be MDs, kind of different ballgame. They're going to be dealing more with like issues that come about with lactation or breastfeeding. But this is more like, your everyday feeding issues. You're going to be seeing likely in an IBCLC. So it is international, which is also really cool because we're not bound to certain states. I can help people all over the world. So that's been really cool. I actually, fun fact, helped someone in the Bahamas, which was very interesting. That her pump was like stuck in customs in the Bahamas. And so and things took so much longer. Like it was not Amazon Prime where you can just get it in 2 days, or even some days, same day here, at least in the triangle.
I know.
It was like, that's going to take 2 weeks to get to her and go through customs and all the things. So it was very, very interesting.
Until then. Wow.
Very interesting. Yeah. So, there's a couple different pathways, but in short, you have to have between at least 500 or 1,000 contact hours of like shadowing a lactation consultant or working with breastfeeding parents, 500 or 1,000, depending on which pathway you choose. And then in addition to that, we have to have, I think the last time it was 90 hours of like continuing education or, education specific to lactation. And then you also have to have like some science-y courses like the anatomy, physiology, chemistry. You have to have that kind of background as well.
Yeah.
I do wish that it was a different term because I feel like we help out with so much more, especially in today's day and time of pumping and bottle feeding and combo feeding. And so, and like I said earlier, we help with solids. So, a lot of people don't think that we help with solids or we help with weaning at any point in their journey, whether it's 2 days in and you decided that you don't want to breastfeed, we can help with weaning. We're not just for the start of it. We're literally the whole feeding process. So I do wish, while yes, I help out with the majority of breastfeeding moms, I wish it was more like feeding therapists, that it was a more broader term. It'll never change, I know, but I think when you hear, sometimes a lot of people are triggered by the word lactation and like that, years ago, we have some older generation lactation consultants that are very like, you have to breastfeed, you have to nurse directly at the breast, and pumping's not a thing and pumping's not breastfeeding, and which I completely disagree with. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I can help however you feed your baby in whichever capacity that is, whatever your goals are or my goals for you. And I will help you get to wherever you want to go within your journey.
Yeah. I have so many people that are, whether it's even adoption or surrogacy, and even in that realm where it's like, okay, we might not be nursing, we might not even be pumping, but like bottle feeding and any of that kind of stuff, you guys can still help with that.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, but I'm not nursing, so why do I don't need to go see lactation because I'm not nursing. I'm like, so your baby's eating something, right?
Yep. And I mean, I think, within the IBCLC community, it is tough because there's a lot of rules that there's something called the WHO Code of Conduct, which is the World Health Organization. And because we're an international certification, we followed that code of compliance of like breast milk substitutes and, including formula. And it's like, well, I'm not going to go support, I'm not going to go like just name a specific brand, but I can teach you about the different types of formula and what is this formula versus that formula. And again, a lot of lactation consultants are scared to talk about it because of this overriding WHO code of compliance. And it's like, well, as long as I'm not doing a brand deal with a formula company, I
Right.
can still talk about it in generalities
Mhm.
to educate so that a mom can make the best choice for her and her family if formula is a part of the journey. So
Yeah.
it's tough because then there's also stuff about bottles, and it's like, well, bottles are a part of so many parents, working moms. What are we supposed to do if we pump the milk? How are we
Right.
supposed to give it? We give it with a bottle.
Yep.
We need to be educated on bottles. So
Yep.
it's a very, very outdated code, and so much to the point where they call it like teats. They don't call them nipples. They're like, you can't talk about it. And we're like, this makes
Like,
no sense. This
right.
makes no sense. Because pumps, when the new code was developed, they didn't have anything in it about pumps. So pumps are like free range. You
Really?
can talk about pumps, all kinds of pumps, but you cannot talk about the teat. What
Oh my goodness.
which
Okay.
again is so backwards
It
because it's
is.
like, well, then how am I supposed to feed the milk
Right.
to the baby
Right.
if
Just
I
like
pumped
hope they
it?
open their mouth and like squirt across the room. Like, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and there are a lot of things like we talk about and educate, because I'm like, as long as I'm not, I can see about the whole brand deal or like promoting us, like I can totally see that advertising a specific
Right.
one, but I can speak in generalities and, and help you make the decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had so many clients that like, they'll text me and if they aren't already seeing lactation, which I'm like, the second that you are pregnant, hello, we're getting one set up.
Please.
But
Yes.
they'll have concerns of like weight gain or really like literally anything that deals with the baby at any point in like the first year. And they ask me a question and I'm like, have you seen your lactation consultant about this? And they're like, well, no, I went to the pediatrician. I'm like, that's great. However, you also need to go see your lactation consultant
Hmm.
because this is literally
Hmm.
what they do.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
especially with
It
weight gain,
is.
because a lot of the pediatrician side, it's just like, okay, we need to supplement. And the amount of times I've had clients that come to me and they say, like, yeah, my pediatrician said to triple feed for a few days and then just go from there. And I'm always like, okay, but what did your lactation consultant said? Because triple
Hmm.
feeding is not a long-term thing unless they want you to go
No.
mentally insane.
Hmm.
Um, so no, we need to get a better game plan than that. So,
Yeah. 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 I 100% agree. Yeah. I had to triple feed this little one. He was in the NICU. And so we had to bottle feed
mhm.
and triple feed. And it took us a couple of weeks to really get nursing going after he had gotten out of the NICU. And yeah, I would have gone insane if I had to do triple feeding for any longer than I did. Like
Yeah.
it is not a long-term solution. And they suggest, like, I'm so glad that they told you to pump, because sometimes that's even mixed. They're just like, oh, here's formula, and they don't tell them to pump,
Yep.
and they miss that little detail.
Yep.
But on the other hand, it's like, well, and then if you're not following that up with like, okay, this is what I'm going to tell you to do, but you need to work with a lactation consultant to come up with a long-term plan. What is going on?
Yeah.
It's not a solution.
Yeah. So I'm a breastfeeding counselor. So whenever people are like, okay, you're pretty much a lactation consultant, I'm like, well, girl, no, I'm not. Because like I can educate you all day long, but
Yep.
I am not going to assess baby's latch physically with my hands. I can watch what they're doing
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
like, I can help with that. However, a lot of times we need to know what's going on inside the baby's mouth, and
Yep.
that is not in my scope.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm like, some people are just very much like, oh, well, like we can just watch babies latch and just see what happens. And I'm like, mm-mm, we need to see
Yeah.
what's going on inside. And I know a lot of people, especially with tongue and lip ties, they're always fearful of getting them revised and that whole side of things. But a lot of people
Hmm.
don't realize that you don't have to jump to that. You can do
No.
exercises, you can
Yep.
see a
Yep.
chiropractor, you can do all of these things to help with it. And also, so with my son, breastfeeding was a nightmare, horrible experience. Probably shouldn't have gone as long as I did. And that was with being a lactation consultant. Like it was a lot. And he had tongue and lip tie. We got them revised. Didn't do a darn thing. Then with my daughter, Aria, breastfeeding was magical, and she had pretty significant tongue and lip ties, but we didn't do anything about it because we weren't having any issues with anything. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
people don't really understand the difference in like what you might need done, what might not need to do anything, even if, textbooks
Mm-hmm.
say, well, if
Mm-hmm.
they have a tongue and a lip tie, they should get it revised, but it's not causing issues. So
Yeah, definitely. Tongue and lip ties that's definitely, that could be a whole podcast in itself. It's
listen, I'm
just
here
tongue and
for
lip
it.
ties. It is. There's so many nuances to it. And there's never, like I tell parents, and like with that, or just any oral function in general, or just babies in general, one baby is not like the other baby. And I've never seen two cases that are exactly the same, showing the exact same symptoms. In and yes, what you said about going back to like assessing the baby's mouth, I think we are as a lactation consultant, so as an IBCLC, we are one of the only professionals that assess mom and then assess baby
Mhm.
and then assess them both together. So essentially we have three, not really that we have three patients, we definitely have two patients, which
Yeah.
if you go to your pediatrician, they're only focusing on baby.
Yeah.
They might ask you how you're doing, mom, because they have to legally ask to make sure, like
Right.
screen for postpartum depression. But that's about the extent that they do. Okay,
Mhm.
you're feeling good, cool. Like your baby's gaining weight, get on out of here.
Right.
Or your baby's not, and here's formula. Like that's really where that happens. And then it's like if you go to your OB, they're like, "Oh, cute baby, glad everything's going well. Are you breastfeeding? Okay," and they don't really touch on it.
Yeah.
And so it's and then we have to assess them separately, and then we have to assess them both together. And so that's a very unique thing that we get to do. I always tell people my background when I first became a nurse was in critical care ICU. And I remember thinking, and, I think my mother-in-law, which I adore, she was like, is lactation going to challenge you enough? Because I'd been used to the fast-paced world of an ICU.
Yeah.
And I totally think it does, because in a different way, obviously,
Right.
very different, but
Mhm.
it's still, we're looking at, okay, is it a mom milk supply problem? Do we have something hormonally going on? Do we need to swap out phalanges? Do we need to work on, does this pump just not work for this mom? There's so many things. Okay, we got to look at mom. And then we have to go over and look at baby and assess their mouth and assess their oral function, assess their suck, literally put our fingers in their mouth and look inside their mouth, but feel their body. Breastfeeding is a full body experience for baby. If baby is tight throughout their body, as you had mentioned, like chiropractor, baby can affect seating.
Mhm.
And then we have to so we assess baby by themselves, and then we have to put both of them, mom and baby, together once we have ruled out issues with mom and then issues with baby, and then bring them both together and see, okay, can we make them both work together?
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting, such a special place to be.
Mhm.
But there's definitely so much nuance to it, and there's no one fix trick that's just going to make it work for everyone.
Well, and then on
And
top of that, you have all of your patients that you have, but you have to also be fixing things with both of them at the same exact time.
it is wild. And I learned with my second, I went into having my second, like, oh, I'm a lactation consultant. I don't need a lactation consultant. It was the Better Boob, just me. It was only me. I didn't have a team. I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. Like, I'll be able to do this. This is going to be a walk in the park compared to my first baby. Boy, was I wrong. We still struggled. And I remember reaching out to a group of lactation consultants that I met on Instagram. I send them, I'm like, hey, this is what's going on with me and my baby. And they're like, Courtney, we don't know how to tell you this, but you might need a lactation consultation. And I'm like, wait, what? Me?
What do you mean?
But I am a lactation consultant.
Right.
So I give that story to people because I did have to meet virtually with a friend of mine that was in Arizona. She was like, Courtney, she texted me. She's like, let's just hop on a quick virtual. And she like walked me through. And so then going into having my third, Amanda on my team, I was like, I'm going to have you be my lactation consultant. She's like, wait, why? She's like, you won't need me. You know everything. And I'm like, but it's really hard to take that like mom brain out of, mom brain and LC brain
Yeah.
And I was like, I just need someone else to be looking at him, looking at me, going through. So as a lactation consultant myself, I needed a lactation consultant. So
Yeah.
don't feel weird about like, well, feeding is supposed to be this natural. I just should know how to do it. It's biological. And while it is, it's not. It can be hard.
Mhm.
So that's why I have a job. That's
Yeah.
why I have
Yeah.
why there are lactation consultants for a reason.
Yeah. That is one of my biggest pet peeves, especially in the hospital setting when they say like, oh, it's breastfeeding. Like you'll get the hang of it.
Yeah, yeah,
You'll
yeah,
learn it. Baby will learn it. I'm like, maybe, hopefully,
yeah.
hopefully. However, we're gonna need something to
Yep,
teach you this.
yep.
Yeah. And even on top of all that, even just kid to kid is completely different. And you have to relearn.
Mhm.
I also just had my third kid, and I'm like, okay, I think I've got this time. Like, I think we can figure this out. And breastfeeding itself and nursing is going great. But now that you just said that, you said something about pumping earlier, and I'm like, okay, that reminds me, I really need to get a consult because pumping my left not as good boob as my right one's my better one. My left one is
Yeah.
not. And that one I'm getting like an ounce out when I pump. And then my right one I get like 4 or 5. And then I get a
Yeah, yeah.
clog. And
Which
then
could
it's
be
full.
normal, but if you said, I think I heard you say clog, if you've
Yes.
got,
It's like
yep,
every single
yep,
time. And I'm like, okay, well, in my mind, my mom brain, I'm like, okay, this is my third kid. I should know what to do by now, right? But
yep.
then my breastfeeding counselor side and my doula side is like, there are people for this.
Yeah, but if I were my own patient, I'd be like, you should go get a
Exactly.
flange fitting, or you
Exactly.
should be measured. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Yep.
There's a lot in the flange. A lot has changed in the pump world. I mean, there's
Mhm.
so many pumps on the market. It's insane. Even from having my 7 years ago, my first is 7, and so even going from 7 to now,
Yep.
there are so many more options,
Yep.
which is great, but it's also very overwhelming.
It
Which should
is.
I get? The Spectra pump that I can plug in, or the Spectra
Mhm.
battery, or do I go with one of these wearables?
Yeah.
Then you just picking a pump is one thing in itself, and then fitting and flange fitting and
Well,
making sure
they're
that you're
like a whole
it's
other
so
ballgame.
much. Yep, yep, it's so much. I tell people flange fitting is very similar to like shoes fitting. Like you have to try them on. You have to
Yes.
play around with them. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
not a one size fits all
Right.
by any means.
Yeah. Yeah. And the amount of people that are like, when I tell them, usually one nipple is larger than the other. They're
Hmm.
like, what do you
Hmm.
mean? What?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Uh,
They might not be symmetrical, and that's okay.
mm-hmm. I mean, I know it's different for everyone and what they need and what they're looking for, but do you have a favorite pump?
A tried and true is going to be the Spectra. She is
Mhm.
she is good. Like
She
she
is.
is
You
a
like her?
she is a she's a good pump. So I usually say the Spectra, so the S1 or the S2. They are the same exact pump. Though how I remember it is the blue one, which is the S1. That one has a battery, and so you don't have to be tied to necessarily the wall.
Yep.
But the S2 is the exact same pump. You just have to be plugged into a wall. It doesn't have a rechargeable battery. So
Yep.
uh, most insurances cover at least the S2, which is the one that just plugs into the wall.
Mhm.
Sometimes for a slight upgrade. The Spectre's it's a tried and true. It's a pump that every insurance that I've ever seen covers, or at least the S2, at least the one that you have to plug into the wall. And it's a really good pump. Wearables all over the place.
Yeah. I
There's
feel like it just depends so much on like breast size and what you're
it
going to
does.
be doing and all of that.
Mhm. And if some people just don't respond to a wearable pump,
Yeah.
that's where they get a really bad rep.
Mm-hmm.
Some people respond just fine to them.
Yeah.
But if I think my biggest problem with it right now is insurance companies offering a wearable pump when a mom does not have like a Spectra, we call a primary pump. And if it's a first time mom that's just getting a wearable option and then that's the only pump that she has, that is where I'm like, oh, I wish they would have a disclaimer on there like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe you shouldn't get this one. Or if you're going to get this one, do you have somewhere else that you could get enough, get that
Yep.
primary pump?
Yeah.
So that is my biggest thing, is that we see a lot of moms come in and they're like, oh, the pump's not working for me. And it's a wearable option. And I'm like, did you use this with insurance? Like, did you get this with insurance? They're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I wish that was more known to get a primary pump. If it's your second baby and you have a primary pump from your first and it was hardly used, can it be used again? Yes. Just get different pump parts, because they wear out over time.
Yeah.
And so Spectra is going to be my go-to all the time. It's a really good pump.
I think it's everyone's go-to, honestly.
Yeah. It's a great pump.
It is.
Can't complain.
Yeah. I do breastfeeding counseling sessions with clients that want it. And in those sessions, we choose a pump. And everyone is always, like, I want the mom cozy, wearable, all that stuff. I'm like, well, great. That's like, I always try to word it as like, the wearable pumps are, outfit that you wear on an occasional night out. Whereas you're marrying for like establishing, and if you're going back to work and all that kind of stuff. It's might not be as cute and as fun, but it's the important, and that's the one that we need.
No, that's a great analogy. And
it's also I'm a huge Baby Buddha fan.
Yes. Yeah.
Love Baby Buddha.
Yeah, Baby Buddha, especially. I've been a big fan of Baby Buddha, especially since they're one of the few companies that have like listened to feedback from lactation consultants. That when it first came out 5 years ago, probably 6 years ago, I think. Don't quote me, but when it first came out, it was a very, very strong pump, like too strong, even on its lowest setting,
like
and stronger
to, and it's like your nipples are leaving this planet. Yes.
And some people, even on the one, they're like, this hurts. It was too strong for the majority of people. And they listened to that, which was amazing. And they came out with the Baby Buddha 2.0, and it still has that higher strength that the original one does. But it also has a lower setting on it that works a lot better. And so I can appreciate a company that listens to feedback and then changes on that. And they did. They got us all on when they were coming out with the 2.0, they reached out to lactation consultants, and we all got on a group call, and they're like, hey, we listened. Because we were also asking about the phalange size, and they're like, you can use our pump with other compatible phalanges. You don't have to use our phalanges again, which I can respect. So that one's, I do consider Spectra, Baby Buddha, I do consider a primary pump in my mind. If you are using the traditional phalanges with it, that is a primary pump. Pumpables is another good one. It's a very strong pump. It's very durable. That one I don't see as much covered by insurance. But I do, but Baby Buddha is, and the pumpables one, the pumpables and the Baby Buddha are a more, I say, portable option. They're not a wearable, but they are portable because they're much smaller and they're battery operated.
Yeah.
They've stuck with what they know. I mean, they did come out with a wearable option, but they didn't, they're just a good pump. It's a good pump.
So talking more about breastfeeding journeys and all that stuff, when do you usually recommend people start reaching out and scheduling lactation appointments?
Yeah, I hands down, if your insurance covers lactation, 100% reach out prenatally. I think a prenatal gives you an option to meet with the lactation consultant, establish that relationship. You know who they are. They're not this foreign person. And then we can also go over what questions you have, what goals do you have for your feeding journey. And this is not just for first-time moms, but I say for second, third-time moms, just so we can see how did your other journeys go? What do you want to change? What do you want to keep the same? What challenges did you go through, so that we can make sure that maybe doesn't happen. If you struggle with supply, or you struggle with pumping, or you struggled with latching, those are all good things to know going into another journey and being the most prepared you can be. And then, of course, we go over the basics like latching and positioning. And if you do want to do any prenatal expression, collecting milk before baby has arrived, then we go over that. And so it gives you a chance to not only meet your lactation consultant and make sure that you guys, vibe and all things are good, but then also making sure that like you're most prepared and more confident going into it. It's a lot of information. I tell clients, I'm like, I'm giving you a lot of information, but it's like when we were in school and they said, read the textbook, the night before coming to class. That's what we're doing. You're not going to remember everything, and that's okay, but you're going to absorb something.
Yes.
And it's better to absorb it then than when you're sleep deprived in the hospital on that second night and the baby's cluster feeding and you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You're going to remember they said everything was going to be fine. She said the second night, and so that's why I loved prenatal visits in that way. And I think that they really do help get mom off to the best start that she could, be confident about.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, at least with my team, like you get priority scheduling. When you deliver, we know when you're about to deliver. So we know we got to keep an eye on this one. And we make sure to fit you in on, if we need to get you in on a day off or something like that. So you get that priority scheduling, which is really nice. And then you get access to text us while you're in the hospital to at least like have that another sense of comfort of we're here, we'll be there for you, and then we set up that home visit a couple of days later. If you haven't done that, it just makes it a little bit harder because then it's like I'd rather be proactive than reactive, and in that case it's like you're more reactive because you're like just Googling who can get me in. And while we might still be able to get you in and we will try our hardest, but it is really nice to have that prenatal visit done and you can go into it, again, feeling more confident.
All right, besties. I think this is the perfect place to pause for today. Apparently, when you put a doula and lactation consultant together and tell them to talk about boobs, one episode just is not enough. In part 1, we covered what an IBCLC actually is, why breastfeeding isn't always as intuitive as people make it sound, common pumping questions, flange fitting, and why getting lactation support before baby arrives can make such a difference. But we are not done yet. In part 2, we're diving into what it actually looks like to work with a lactation consultant after baby arrives, what appointments look like, common feeding challenges, how to choose the right lactation consultant for you and your family, and so much more. Part 2 will be live in 2 weeks, so make sure that you are following the podcast so that you don't miss it. A huge thank you to Courtney from the Better Boob for joining me today and sharing so much knowledge with us. You can find me on Instagram at Allie the Doula and learn more about my doula services, birth education, and birth partner bootcamp at allieravendoula.com. And remember, you're doing much better than you think. I'll talk to you soon.